So I'm gonna start out with some pause snatching, up to 90 at the most, maybe less. Depends how it feels. I'm not worried about going heavy on that. And then some pulls, snatch balance, overhead squat, overhead press volume, and then maybe some arms, but I probably won't be live for those because they'll just be band work. Do be tricep emphasis. But surprisingly not too sore from yesterday, but probably fatigued. So back is probably the most sore. But start warming up. Alright, get the glasses off. We don't need to be seeing anything. Throw the knee wraps on mostly just to help warm up and stay warm. When I've been on for snatching, I usually don't try to do anything crazy with them. Just get them a little bit comfy. What's up? But we'll do one more warm-up set and then just do singles today. So not much, just doing some weightlifting. But we'll go 40, 50 and just keep going up and see if 90 feels okay or if I just stop at 80 like I did the other day. But another warm-up set. $52. A lot of people. Watch me smoke this 40-kilo pause snatch. Never stood a chance. Easy. And the reason for today to do the pauses is technical work because I'm not worried about going heavy in the snatch today, but I want to do it more frequently and just practice it. Like today is actually just for practice. So the limit's kind of like 90 for what I'm going to do at the most. And take small jumps, or I guess it's 10 kilos. Not too small, but not too large. So this will be 50, same thing. So not too bad. Doing some pause snatching. 72. A lot of people. It's nice. It's almost 60 degrees. It's probably in the mid 50s right now, but it's nicer outside than it has been. Still 65. Crazy. But yeah, pause snatches. So this is 60 kilos. Trying to emphasize the productive bar path to the knee with the pause, and then the rest of it's just trying to fixate quickly and aggressively, but that's kind of always the case. Which, other than this week, I haven't done pauses in a very long time, so it's nice. I'll get some progress with them from just simply doing them, not even like getting volume in, but right now it's kind of an auxiliary accessory movement, if that makes sense. I'm not really worried about doing it very heavy. We'll lose the Browns hat because I have a heater on in here, but it's not really that cold, so I'm just going to get warmed up really quick, which is nice. And I'd rather be too warm than too cold. So 60, now we're going to go to 70. One of the reasons I'm loading like this is so once I get to snatch balances, I don't have to take off the 40 kilos and go back to the bar. I just leave the green on the whole time. But this is by far the most people I've ever had in a stream. I appreciate it. So 70 kilos. Speed and everything felt good. Just caught it a little off balance. But it's 70, so then we're gonna do 75. Crazy. But well, if you looked at my video yesterday, Rena or Renee, whatever your name is, you can see I carried 300 kilograms. My trusty notebook. Bring it over here. Trusty handy notebook. Tracking cord says 40, 50, 60, just did 70. So this is 80 now. So go ahead and just do this. Just keep it moving and grooving. Rechalk the hand a little bit. Actually feels really good, which is nice. So we're gonna do one more and take this momentum of this session for positive snatches into the next one. That's a pretty funny comment. That made me chuckle. Alright, so we're gonna do 90 now. And even though this might feel good, I need to actually not go up from this. I need to have more sessions where I actually lift light, because when you lift light, you can move the weight faster, particularly in a movement like this, and take that momentum into other sessions where I'm going to be more recovered for heavier weights. So I just need to be smart about it and use these sessions to move fast, but also to try to move with good technique to build into other sessions, and then build strength in other things. Focus on other things. Like after this, I'm gonna do pulls. So this is 90. This will be top set of this exercise, and then I'm gonna do pulls with a pause, either triples or doubles. I haven't decided yet, but do some snatch pause pulls, and then some snatch balances potentially, and then overhead press for sure, and maybe some flat bar holds. They'll look kind of weird on video, but you're gonna talk with your cat about it. I appreciate it. All right. Do this same thing. Make sure it's a good bar path. I'm also messing around with how my hands are holding the bar. I feel like, especially with straps, I kind of curl and flex my right hands too much. So just trying to make sure that they are in a position that's going to mimic a hook grip, even though I am using straps today. Which will hopefully keep my arms looser and also mimic a hook grip a little bit more. You know, not as good as 80, but it was good enough. And, you know, it gives me that number to try to make look better on the next time that I do it. So now snatch pulls, and let's see. Well, ask your cat how that last rep looked for me. So now to get to 100 kilos for my pulls now, or throw that on. It's very important for me to know how your cat thinks that my lift went, but you're not responding, which is all right. I'm just gonna cry myself to sleep. But we're doing this 100 here for a double pull, and then 110. Maybe stop at 120 and do my sets there, or at 130. We'll see how high how pumped my low back is getting. But we'll do doubles regardless, most likely. So, feels good. It's like a good challenging exercise. So I think that's where I have a lot of where my pull breaks down is around the knee, and really trying to emphasize not just getting it back. Yeah, it's just 100 right now. Then we're gonna go to 110 via the white plates. But 100 is not heavy for me to pull in general, but it's good for a snatch derivative like the snatch pause pull or whatever, to really emphasize the technique. It's not meant to be maximal. It's meant to just try to move it correctly. But yeah, I got the goofy loading because I'm just a goofy goober. 88 people. I appreciate you guys stopping by. This is by far largest little stream thing I've had. You guys are out here watching me lift in my shed. But yeah, now it's 110. But another double here. I realize that when I'm setting up, I'm really flexed with my hand up. And I just need to not necessarily have it neutral, but just have it more relaxed. Because when you start to pull, it's just going to do that anyway. So it's just an extra thing that can be inconsistent. And it just means that I am not loose with my arms if my wrists are up. And I can just be a little bit more upright, a little bit more relaxed with my arms. The loose muscle is a fast muscle. And this is why pulls are great, because you can work with weights that you're going to be trying to lift, but in a non-pressure sense, where you're just focused on the pulling technique and not all the other parts. So another double here. think pauses are good for me. Something I got to take advantage of more. Because my back is just so generally strong that I can do a lot of pulls and pulling volume. Yeah, I am. I do like your. I don't know what the 710 stands for, but I like the other part of your name. But yeah, if I was on the snozzle, I'd be doing a lot more weight than I'm currently doing in the weightlifting movements. It's an interesting thing to think about for the strength movements, how much more, but for sure we'd be snatching significantly more um, weight, but probably clean jerk obviously a lot more too. Only lift that I don't think would be improved a 710. Oh, I get it now. That's pretty funny. Um, but for me, no. But would be interesting is because I've deadlifted 684 in pounds, 310 in kilos, so whatever 310 kilos is in pounds. I'd be interested to know how much more I could do just from a pure deadlift standpoint. I feel like if I went full like permabulk strongman style, where I'm on everything and eating everything, that I could do. I hate to say well north of 800 pounds, but just the way I'm built, I feel like I would get a lot of benefit with all my lifts, but the deadlift would be kind of interesting just from like a scientific standpoint to see what would be possible. But no, I do not desire to partake in that. So that was 110. So we're going to do, honestly, 120 seems like a good weight where we're going to do 3 sets at. I wrote 130 down, but the last time I did these pause pulls like this, I did them at 110, and I could do them at 130, but I want to take those smaller increments and really focus on weights that are closer. You know, the 120 is what I snatched yesterday, so like a weight that I'm going to be interacting with and not just fatiguing my lower back for little benefit. But yeah, we'll do 3 doubles here at 120, and then move on to some snatch bounces. 91 people, that's bonkers. Almost 100. It's... Well, 300 is what I did yesterday. 310 is my PR, but yeah, like it's crazy to think that when I started lifting, 300 seemed to be um, out of the realm of possibility. Like when I did years ago, I did 302 like on a random day, and I thought when I did that, that was like I was like, oh, that's like the most I'll ever deadlift. Like to of how hard it felt and how big of a PR it was. I didn't really think I'd get above that, and it took several years to even get back to that after that random PR day. And I think it's just a good rule of thumb for people that a big PR is always nice to hit, but if you can hit a smaller one, not necessarily like 1 kilo, but if instead of doing 10 kilo, trying a 10 kilo PR, if you could do a 5 kilo PR, that allows you to progress that other 5 kilos and not just be stagnant for as long. And usually you can move a smaller PR a little bit better, so it's not as crazy difficult. But at the same time, like if it's cooking, it's better take a big PR when it's there. Do I do focus on cardio from a mental toughness standpoint wise? Not for that aspect. So I don't do necessarily a ton of cardio. Like yesterday, I did a set of 10 in the back squat, which is very cardiovascular. It's very strenuous from a cardiovascular standpoint, musculature from cardio and all of that. So it's kind of a weird dual feeling, if that makes sense. But yeah, I don't know what that means. But outside of that, and if I'm doing cardio, it's just to kind of, I don't want to say relax, but just to, get the heart pumping a little bit, but not, I don't push cardio hard enough for the mental toughness aspect of it. I'll do a set of 10 on the back squat for that, but not what you call it, not cardio, because this guy. Get that good old spam. But time to do my pulls. So really, I mean, same kind of thing I was talking about when I was doing the actual lift. When I'm doing the pulls, it's to focus on getting it to where my knees are, pushing back and out a little bit, and then just keeping it symmetrical the whole time. But you got a barbell and weights. That's what you need. That's you do 99.9% of stuff. Only thing different than you that I have in here is I have a rack. I got like bumper plates. Blocks, which you don't need. Bands. I get some bands, resistant bands. Those are really nice to have. But like if you got a squat rack, bumpers, bar, and that, depending on what you want to actually train for, it's more than sufficient. Like in here, I could train every day and do 99.9% of my lifts perfectly fine with the setup I have in here. And it's a nice luxury to have, that's for sure. But barbell and plates you can get by with that. I would say a squat rack too, but that's just depends on what you want to actually train. But I think a squat rack is useful if you want to do just pressing even if it's not just for squats. All right. Pauses are nice because it forces you to be patient off the ground, so then you have to keep it close. Then that isometric there, that's just good in general to do. But 111. This is crazy. I appreciate it. This is kind of cool. It dips around a lot, but hey, we're doing big weights now. But look at these pulls done. So I can set up for some snatch balance action. So one more of those. Then we're on to some snatch balance. There's my water. Americans who lift, you all are always taking notes of the lifts and reps. Oh, yeah. I've always written everything down when I've lifted weights, and that started when I was first doing anything. For me, it's helpful to look back, but it's also just nice for organizational purposes. Whew. But 69 people, nice. I would just get a notebook and just write down. It's tricky because you don't want to become like OCD about it where you write down every possible thing that you could. But like for the exercise that you do, just writing down the numbers that you're doing, it's helpful, especially if you're gonna repeat exercises, so you can look back and see what you've done. I certainly don't always look back like super far, but like a week or two, I'll look back and see. But also, it's helpful if you just glance back like a month and you're like, oh, I had this really good section of whatever exercise, and then you can see what you were doing building up to that, or if you did a certain rep scheme, you could see like what you were doing then, and then try to improve upon that. So it just gives you different things to measure. I think it's essentially what you're doing. It's just allowing yourself to look back and remember specifically what you did. But last set of pulls here. It's not too difficult. Put that down. I don't, yeah, I designed the program for myself, but I don't bench press. I could probably do like 125 kilos, but um, I don't do any of it now. Best ever lifetime is 150, but I'm nowhere near that. Where are my glasses? Throw them on. Relax for a minute. Glasses fired up a little bit. Actually warmed up a lot out here. But yeah, snatch balances. I write numbers down sometimes, even if it's not something I'm necessarily planning on doing. I'm basically just going to start. I'm actually going to do weird jumps. I'm going to start at 43, 63, 93, 113, and maybe jump to 133 from there, and maybe even more. But you really have to feel good until that point, and I'm not really stressing if it doesn't, because it's more, not necessarily even a technical movement, it's more of a mobility thing. I'm going to throw the hat back on. We turned the heater off. It was getting a little hot in here, to be honest, but the hat's nice because it keeps my glasses on. If I have my glasses on, I can see the chat a little bit better. So it works out in that regard. I still got 79 people. This is bonkers. I had over 100 for a little bit too, which is crazy. I appreciate it. Oh, but snatch balances can feel really rewarding or feel really defeating, depending on how they go. So, and I like to redo the wraps and stuff between kind of main exercises just to make sure that they are comfortable. Not that they weren't just a second ago, but it's nice to get them a little extra comfy. So now, there it is. So this, we definitely want the wrist straps on for sure. Like I see, YouTube algorithm has blessed my little live stream with more people, which I appreciate. There's a lot of streams that I see that people are just doing random crap that I won't say isn't productive, but it's just to get viewers. I'd be out here lifting regardless, whether I had 2 people or 5,000. It's just, yeah, 9 o'clock. Alright, put this on, then we'll just start hammering away at them and see how it feels. Feels off or like wonky on the shoulder, then we really won't push it, but if it feels alright, we might be cooking a little bit, so we'll see. We will see. McLovin. My hair's not brown though. Checkmate. I also think that I'm a little bit bigger than McLovin. No, I don't like UFC at all. Not a fan. Don't ever watch it. Not against it necessarily or anything like that, but I just do not care about it whatsoever. All right. Now we got 40 kilos. Use a t-shirt for the cotton is nice, it's grippier, but Jack McLovin. I meant to do 43, so I do 3 kilo, or do normal jumps just with an extra 3 kilos on them, but we'll do it for the next one. So that was 40. Now we're going to do a 63. And like I said, if these don't feel good, we'll just cut them off. No prizes to win from a snatch balance. Not too bad. So now we'll go to 93. Not too bad. Gupta, I don't. It just depends on what your goals are. That's a question that you have to answer for yourself. But it's 113 now, so this will be a decent weight. I'd be okay if I wanted to stop here, but of course we want to keep going up. We want it to be easy, but we have to make it easy. Oh. No. I just don't have that extra drive in me today, which is alright. So I'm okay. Based on how much work I did yesterday, that I got stymied there. But you hate to see it. Unfortunate, but it makes sense. And only if it makes sense when lifts don't go well, then it's okay. But man, I kind of want to try it again. And look at the. So I feel like I just didn't push it back far enough. Well, we'll go ahead and we'll try get it back up there and just go up to just 120 and see how that works. If not, how much protein? I don't know. I just eat. So we'll give 120 a try and see what happens. Yeah, but I don't want to scratch up my weightlifting bar. And I don't want to encourage myself to deadlift anymore. I do now. I deadlift too frequently as it is. Alright, so missed 113, so naturally we go up, and we're going to try 120, which should be alright. Should have done that at 113. Just gotta try harder. Yeah. Gotta not to be a baby about it, that's for sure. All right. So we're gonna go to 135 now. I know, Brandon, I'm too OCD. I don't even, like at the gym they have them, I don't even use them there. Alright, so 135 now. We're gonna see if we can do it. No, I didn't have any confidence with that. Just threw too far behind. It's alright though. I kind of knew that would be too heavy, but it's always better just to get rid of it if anything feels weird, but that's alright. I got the 120. The 120 felt good, but it felt heavy. But that one was just too much. Fuck, that's toxic. All depends on what your goals are. If you want to be good at long distance running, then yeah, you shouldn't weigh as much as I do and just lift heavy weights all the time. You have to balance it. So it just depends on what you actually want to. Depends what your goal is, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to be better at running versus lifting or being balanced at both. It's just a give and take. You can be decent at both, but if you want to be your best at one or the other, you just have to emphasize that more. It doesn't mean that you can't do cardio if you lift heavy weights, or if you do cardio you can't lift weights. But if your goal is to run a mile faster, probably shouldn't be going crazy on squats and pulls and stuff. You still do them, but like you're not gonna probably not gonna want all that excess muscle mass from lifting heavy. And same with me, like I'm not gonna tear up my knees just to run when I can do other forms of cardio that are going to work my heart but not are going to explode my joints, because it is a consideration that you need to make. Time for pressing. I was going to do front rack pulls today, but I'm going to skip those because my back is sore. So I don't really want to get a back spasm or something goofy. We'll still press though. We'll do 40, 50 for a set of 5 each, and then try to do some stuff at yes and no. So like there's like this current portion of training, I'm not gonna like not snatch a clean jerk, but the bigger emphasis versus increasing my weightlifting total is just squatting. So no, yes and no, but the emphasis of training changes depending on what the point or what the current time is. Now it's to get squat volume in essentially is the main goal of each week, and then try to improve technique. But you can always do both. You just can't just max out on everything all the time. But no, the goal right now, like yesterday I did a set of 10 in the back squat, but I did snatch and clean jerks before that. So you can certainly do both, and you just can't be peaked on weightlifting strength and do volume in the squats, or vice versa. Although usually when you're peaked for like a competition or something, you usually can squat pretty heavy and weight lift pretty heavy. So those tend to correlate, like the intensity, but the volume does not. Volume and intensity doesn't correlate for the two separate movements, but intensity correlates with intensity. you always need to improve technique. Um, you always need to do both. So it's just the like right now the emphasis is more on improving technique because I'm focusing more on just volume and the squats and stuff and even like pressing and stuff. So to me it's not really like if then this then this. It's just really like you gotta always do both. But I mean like if I was squatting like crazy numbers and my weightlifting numbers never went up, then that would be a different emphasis. But um, yeah, I can stand to benefit from getting stronger and trying to improve technique. But you kind of always should try to improve technique. I don't think that's ever something you shouldn't focus on really at any juncture. It's more so the weights that you do that with will change depending on what time of training you're in. We're just gonna do 55 for our sets of 10, because I did 50 last time. I think 60 would be too much, frankly. Sets of 10 are hard, no, for a press. I guess quick. Yeah, I programmed for myself. It's not terribly difficult to do. Hardest part, whether you're on a program or not, or following someone's program or your own, is adherence. Because it's not necessarily difficult to write stuff that works. It's just not going crazy off, or knowing when you can go crazy off, or just knowing like what you need to do each day. And then the other stuff is not necessarily fluff, but it's not as mandatory stuff. So like today, the mandatory thing that I needed to do, or that I really want to make sure I did, was the snatch pulls and the pressing like I'm doing. Everything else, like the pause snatch, the snatch balance, like, yeah, they're good to do, but it's not like living or dying if those went well. Same with kind of like the front rack hold. Like, that's a good movement to do, to throw in, but it's like, if I'm not feeling it, like if my back's sore like it is, I'm just gonna not do it on a particular day, because I can always do it on a different day because I'm gonna train every day. So if I don't do it on one day, I can do it on another day. Only thing I don't like to push off are like squat volume or pulling volume. It doesn't really like I deadlift. My pulls are strong enough as it is, but squats I don't like to push off, because then it just kind of ends up with just waiting too long to do them. But honestly, I mean, if you understand like how to program, like just how to like progress things, it's not particularly difficult. And if you understand, like if you film yourself lifting and you try to improve technique and stuff like that, I've done programs and had success, and I've also mostly just written my own stuff over the years and just kind of adhere to that. But when you run programs, you can understand what the structure looks like, and then what I would recommend doing is mimic that structure. So if like I used to do Kyle's athletic programs when I first started, and I really liked the structure of them. And in general, I took some things from it, and some things I changed or whatever. But like I ran a program how it was written the first time through, and I really liked that's like, all right, we have squat volume, and then it's like a front squat day, and then another back squat day or something. It was like 3 days of the week we're squatting, and then you could see like it was kind of like a 6-day thing, and then it's like you see how they move the percentages or the weights up and down or whatever. And then you can see like what a week or what several weeks of training should look like, and then it's just adhering to it. I mean, that's when you pay for a program, it's easier to adhere to it because it tells you exactly what to do. When you do your own thing, it's subjective, but as long as you're adhering to normal principles of programming, of trying to linearly progress volume and intensity and just normal stuff that you do with any program, it's not particularly difficult to make progress yourself. It's just writing stuff down that's hard to do and then doing it. Like doing 3 sets of 10 in the squat is not fun to do. It's not fun to program, but like you get strong doing it, and their reps and stuff are good. But that and just trying to figure out what your weaknesses are and trying to work on it. But it's not bad to run programs, but I don't want to say they're over it like this. I've looked at the secret strength stuff too. I've never run one of the programs, but I've looked at it, and it's like the structure's fine, and like they talk about how they do their programming. It's all logical, but if you understand, how to program, then you can just make it your own, or just adjust it for yourself. Because like any program that I've ever looked at, it's not 7 days a week, and I'm gonna train every day. So like that's kind of like the first thing that I have to adjust is like I'm gonna train every day or plan on it, and so I have to make that adjustment. And even if it's not optimal, I'm still gonna do it, and I want to. And same with like heavy deadlifts, like not the most optimal thing in a weightlifting program, but I'm gonna do them. So like, how am I gonna fit them in, or what day would be a good day to have one on, or whatever, and um, you know, individual things like that are important to be able to change, even if you are running a program. And it just got to the point where I think the weightlifting AI was the last thing I tried to do, and I ended up having to change it so much that I was like, why am I even bothering with it? Because it's just giving me the same crap over and over, and I can write the same thing down over and over. It's not hard. Um, yeah, it's the way that I've had success lately with it is you have 3 to 4 main sessions in your week that are heavier, and that could be like your weightlifting movements or squats, but like those are like your main days. You want to go hard, really hard on those days. And like today, one of the reasons I'm live right now is today isn't one of those like crazy important days. Like if I woke up and I was sick or something, like this would be a perfect day for me not to lift at all. And so like it's important to have those days because life will get in the way, or you might just really not want to train on a particular day. So like to have those days where you're like, all right, I can just wipe this off and not do. But to have those like 3 or 4 really important sessions, and then there's other ones where you have stuff that you can still do that's productive, but not I don't want to say too productive, but not in the sense that like you're not going to be doing like really crazy pulls on a secondary day when you're going to do heavy weightlifting stuff the next day. And it's balancing that, and just emphasizing different things on different days, and really thinking about the CNS load on different days. Like today, even though that snatch balance was probably the heaviest thing from a CNS standpoint, the actual weight wasn't too crazy, and like everything else I'm doing is not that difficult mentally to do, and balancing those days as well. Because like for me, thinking about snatching and snatching heavy or clean trigger heavy, it's like a lot of not just physical fatigue, but a lot of mental fatigue, and balancing those days. So you don't want to have every day where you're just battling every day, because then you'll just burn yourself out, which I've done. it's, you can do it for a couple days, but then you have a couple down days, and you kind of just want to maintain homeostasis as much as you can while still having productive. Like pressing here, like I'm gonna basically be talking right before I do it. Like I'm not stressed about doing this at all, but it's still really productive for me to do overhead presses. We're gonna try to do 3 sets of 10 with this. We'll see if it works. One set down. Question is, will the other sets work? That's the true test. But yeah, find important exercises to do each day, and make sure you get those done, and then be okay not going crazy every day. Be okay not going actually bonkers. I have never done a 4 day. The last time I did a 4 day program was when I was in high school. I have, I have, I have liked training every single day. Even like, I mean, even when I was in high school, it was a 4 day split. But I played basketball and baseball then, so I was doing that kind of training um, every day too. So I was still in a sense training every day. But once I did powerlifting, I did it every day for 99% of the time. There might have been like one day a week where I wouldn't train, but it's one of the reasons I like weightlifting training is you can do it every day, and so you can get I don't want to say get away with it, but like it's harder to do powerlifting training every day. It's a lot easier to find weightlifting movements to do every day, but it's hard to say whether I'd make better progress on 4 days a week. Like maybe that would be the most optimal thing in the world, rest more and go harder on those 4 days. But I like training, so I'm just going to train. And honestly, I think that's where it comes down to is like if you start with the thesis that, all right, I like training, I'm going to train 7 days a week. How can I make that work? It's essentially just taking what would be a really difficult session on like a Monday and making it slightly easier. Maybe you just do the weightlifting movements and then you do squats and pulls the next day. Like that's one way I'm adjusting it now. And so it's not as necessarily that it's lighter in intensity or in difficulty, but more of like from a CNS standpoint, if I'm doing, sets of 10 on the squat, it's hard, but I'm not really like mentally struggling to do them, if that makes sense. Um, and that's mostly what I try to balance. Like obviously like the actual weight that tends to correlate with mentally difficult things, but if I'm doing pulls like I did today, like I could have a conversation basically while I'm doing them. It's not a very stressful thing for me to do if I'm trying to snatch heavy or do, clean jerk stuff. I don't know. It's a balancing act and you figure that out as you go. But you want to have important days. You want to have days that are, I mean, every day is important, but you want to have days that they can be less important or that you can adjust things if you need to. Because you never know if you're going to be sick or life's going to get in the way. And so training every day is fun to do. And that's what I do 99% of the time. But you never know. And you don't want to stretch yourself out having like a crazy important session every day. And then like suddenly, your car has a flat tire or something, you can't train that day, and suddenly it's devastating because then it throws off your whole progression. You want to be able to have flexibility in that regard. That's where like just doing a 4 day a week training program would be nice, is you can kind of move your days around a little bit. But if you have a home setup as well, that makes training every day a lot easier as well. Because a session like this is not very fun to drive 30 minutes to the gym to do necessarily, but I can come out in the shed and do it, and it's not a big deal. But I wouldn't necessarily advocate for everyone training 7 days a week, only if you want to. And I think that's the biggest thing is like I advocate for people doing things that they want to do whenever they want to do them as far as training goes, and not worrying about finding the most optimal program, finding a coach, or any of that. It's just weightlifting. It's not that serious. I'm not going to the Olympics. Anyone that's watching this that's doing weightlifting is not going to the Olympics. So it's more important to have fun with training, to try to make progress, but to not stress about all these weightlifting coaches or people on say like you need a weightlifting coach, you need to go film like it's just it's just a snatch and clean jerk. Film yourself doing it, try to get it better, get stronger. It's the grind of trying to improve, like the Sisyphus stone that is what makes lifting fun. It's not, oh, I got to find a coach and get perfect. Like, yeah, maybe, but like that's hundreds of dollars a month. I think Seek of Strength, thinking of them, like Owen just said, like he has a one to one slot. Thank you. Uh, but yeah, I got very lucky with this giant shed out here to have it set up well for all my lifting stuff. But like Seek Strength, he was like a one on one, and nobody needs to do that really, but like $450 a month or euros, whatever it was. I'm like, that's crazy. That's insane for a coach. And I'm sure he's a great coach, give great programming, great advice, all of that great stuff. But just the financial impact of that is bonkers. And for, you know, most of us that are just lifting for fun, it's that's just way too much money. And you get much more benefit out of take all that money that you would spend on coaching and just build your own home gym. Save up money. It's kind of like paying for 100. There's a gym that's close to me that has really good weightlifting stuff. It's $100 a month. Well, I could just lift out here and save $100 a month. My current gym's like $35 or $40 or whatever a month, and I like going to it. It's like a good gym environment to go to. But like $100 a month, you could save $60 a month. That difference and build your home gym. Like it's expensive to buy stuff, but it's it lasts forever when it's just yourself lifting. it's and nobody's gonna be out here using my stuff, and if they are, I'm calling the police. All right. Yeah, and that's a tricky part too, because that's when they're like, if you're starting out, get a coach. But I've never had a coach for weightlifting. The closest I get to having a coach is when I go to a competition. That's where a coach is useful. Like you actually kind of need one for a competition if you're going to do that. But to even learn the lifts, like I just started doing them, and it was as an accessory to powerlifting movements. So I was doing snatches and clean jerks and the derivatives to get better at powerlifting, and just kept liking them, and just eventually just stuck with it. Met a friend that was doing them, and I suppose he never directly coached me. And this is the interesting thing, and this is where it's helpful to be, I guess, to film things and to be generally athletic. What's up, sir? But we just trained together all the time, and his technique had already developed really well at that point. So I had a technical model to watch in person to mimic, and he moved really fast. He was really effective in his movements, and I was really not. So it was a great technical model for me to watch every day and to see that. And that's allowed me to kind of like mimic it in a sense, but also to give myself a comparison when I would do a lift, see him do the lift, and then look at the video of me doing the lift and try to improve that. But I mean, I'm not going to dog on someone like Anton or Seek Strength. Like, obviously, really knowledgeable people, and you make a lot of progress. And if I had unlimited money, then it would be fun to have a coach to essentially talk to someone about your training and stuff with, and try to problem solve that stuff. But I think taking the Ivan Jurek mindset of part of the fun is figuring out the problems yourself is is figuring out what you want to do and how you want to do it and what you need to improve. Like to me, that's part of the challenge and part of what makes it fun. And you know, not that collaborating with other people or talking with other people or getting coaching would like take that away, but to me at this point, kind of like you, like paying a coach for technique points at this aspect of my lifting life is not really going to be that useful because I generally know the things that I need to improve upon and what movements are going to be helpful for that and like what I'm trying to do as far as technique stuff goes and just trying to improve it. And it's yeah, Anton. I mean, like one. It's interesting because like I wouldn't. I almost feel like a seminar would be more worth it than paying monthly for coaching because like all the stuff you'd learn, you'd be able to apply for multiple training sessions. It's I don't know. I don't. It's hard for me to necessarily say like coaching wouldn't help me because I've never had it. I've just never done it. I'm also probably not a very good person where I'm not very compliant. I know this when I write my own programs. I don't follow them or like I go off of it and don't do stuff exactly how I have planned. That if I had a coach telling me what to do, I probably would listen if I'm paying him money. But I like the freedom of pushing boundaries on different days and just having fun with training. And that's really what it comes down to the end of the day is you want to do things that you think are correct, but you still want to have fun with training. It's like for me deadlifts. Like if I had a weightlifting coach, they would never let me deadlift. So I deadlift 310 kilos. I never need to do another deadlift in my life, and it would be fine. But deadlifts are fun, and I'm gonna do them randomly, and I'm not gonna waste my whole time or all my energy doing them. But to not do them at all because I'm at a certain level with them is something that I wouldn't tolerate because I just enjoy them. Deadlifts, conventional deadlifts. Oh yeah. I mean, all lifting is fun, but like I find deadlifts really fun because I'm good at them, and it's something I wouldn't want to take away from my training, even if it is at a detriment. But I find the whole aspect of doing the training fun, planning the training, thinking about the training, talking about the training, like all of the aspects of it are fun, and kind of like the problem solving because it's a impossible problem to solve, but you can always get a little bit closer at solving it. The Sisyphus stone. Sisyphus stone. All right, last set. These are actually been pretty easy. I think because I've been talking too much in between, so I'm well recovered, which is probably what I should do for pressing. Give my shoulders time to recuperate before I do another set. That's all she wrote for that. Yeah, it's slightly challenging at the end, but not too bad. Not too bad. That's, well, that's the thing. Like heavy deadlift, it's a grind. It's literally a grind, but it's fun. lifting, lifting ain't fun. It's just grinding away perpetually. It's fun to lift productively. It's hard to describe to people that don't lift. It's like, yeah, it may look miserable, but like if I lift well, then I know that I accomplished closer to a goal than not. I suppose it's similar to what people get who do a lot of like running training, long distance stuff. Like you don't look very happy during it or right after, but like if you accomplish a goal related to it, then you feel good about it, and that's the more that's the crux of competitive exercise, because I come out here and just do light work and essentially bodybuild and be healthy, but I'm beyond health. I'm training beyond my health, and there's still, I think, some benefits to trying to get stronger, even if you don't really care about it. But the the level from which you get that benefit is far below what most people who like weightlifting or powerlifting or anything like to push for. If I was just lifting to be healthy, I'd probably come out here, squat like 135 pounds, 60 kilos or whatever, and just do high reps and do that basically every day, and just that would be it. We'd never go above it, and we'd just do more and more reps, get the cardio benefit from doing the high reps, and also some of the musculature and joint benefits from doing the full depth squats. And the same with deadlifts, like just like 225, and just do that for high reps, and just alternate days of doing light squats and light pulls, and press 40 kilos. Just do that for sets of 20, and get all the benefits from the muscles. And maybe I'd get bored, but like if you're just lifting for health, that's where I don't get bodybuilding. It's like if I'm not pushing to get stronger, like I just get bored. And with bodybuilding stuff or accessory work, like I'm gonna do here in a second for triceps, like if I don't have a goal that I'm trying to get better at, then I don't understand like how you keep trying to go hard at it, and get hypertrophy and stuff. But body weight right now is 107 to 108. It kind of fluctuates a little bit. About as chunky as I'll ever get. 110 is the weight class that I probably end up competing in, 'cause I think that's what it is now. It was 109, but I'm not trying to gain weight or lose weight. I'm just trying to eat and be strong. That's another good piece of advice too. Don't worry about your body weight. I mean, obviously, if you're like, want to not be really fat, or if you're skinny or something, I would say don't worry about your weight class. If you're unhealthy and you want to get healthy to a healthy body weight, then yeah. But if you're like 70 kilos or something and you're worried about competing in the 73 kilo class, like, no, bro, just eat and get strong. Especially for 99% of people. There's some like Instagram guy, it's like 18-year-olds, some 18-year-old guy, and he's like, my legs are skinny, but look at my squat, and he's doing like this low bar squat, which it's not good for leg development in general. It's more back. Speaking of someone that is probably benefit from would lift a lot more weight low bar, it's a lot more back. But I was like, oh, my legs are skinny. It's like, well, you're 70 kilos, like, or he was like 75 kilos, and like, yeah, you're 18, you're 150 pounds, like, yeah, your legs are going to be skinny because you literally just have not eaten enough and trained enough to build any muscle. It doesn't matter how you configure a weight to do a low bar squat. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean your legs are going to be big if you just do a low bar squat, because that doesn't mean you're doing a squat. If you do ATG, high bar, high volume, and just build that, like, your legs will grow. And my legs always been big, but my like quads specifically have grown over the years, and it's just from high bar squats. Like I didn't get a lot of quad changes from low bar squats. My back got stronger. Everything makes my back stronger, makes my deadlift stronger, but my actual quads grew from just doing regular squats and using your legs. I mean, like, from a biomechanical standpoint, it makes more logical sense that if you're doing high bar squats with full depth, you're going to use your quads to a higher extent if you're doing low bar. And from doing low bar, you can use your back a lot and not depend on your legs. Which, if you're trying to lift the most weight, yeah, you should probably figure out how to low bar or whatever. But for someone that does weightlifting like myself, and it sounds like you as well, is it's not just to do the more weight. Of course, we want to do more weight, but we want to do it in the position that's going to carry over the most. So you or I could probably low bar squat and be fine, adding more weight, but would that weight mean anything? It's it's a that's the tricky part. It's like you want to increase the weight that you're lifting, but it has to be in the position that's advantageous to carry over. And a low bar squat is, I mean, to an extent it will carry over, but if I were to start low bar squatting, it would probably have like no carryover, to my high bar squat or to my front squat or to my total. Um, I don't know. It's one of those things. But I saw a couple of like skinny Instagram guys, but they're like 18. They're not even like, and I don't even consider them really skinny. Like I was, like 175 pounds when I graduated high school. So like I was their size when I graduated high school. They can lift more weight, but also didn't know about powerlifting or anything at that point. But yeah, it's eat, try to get stronger, try to eat cleanly and eat a lot clean food. And it's a nebulous term, but you don't want to just eat McDonald's every day and just perma bulk in that regard. You just want to eat enough so then your training will always feel like it's going well. You never want to feel like you're hungry, and you want to fuel yourself with healthy foods so you feel good. But if you're bulking and cutting, you're never going to feel good. But yeah, I mean, like, yeah, and I think that's like where Clarence Kennedy probably said one of his most profound statements. It's like the high bar squat and like Olympic weightlifting, like it looks aesthetically pleasing. And that's something that, I think was more profound than maybe even he knew at the time. Because if you're trying to improve your technique, all you have to do is look at the aesthetics of it. If something looks wrong, it probably means you're doing something wrong. If it looks aesthetically pleasing, it probably means it's symmetrical. And I don't know if it's maybe it's just because that's just the way my brain works, or if it's like the way a human brain works, where when things are moving in like a natural flowing state from a physical standpoint, it looks better. But there are people with like the weird hitches and like crazy weird stuff with their lifts, and you're like, that aesthetically looks wrong. And 99.9% of the time, it usually is something that's a technical fault. Like Carlos Nassar is like a good example of that. Like obviously really strong, but like aesthetically his lifts aren't that pretty looking, and that's because his technique can be improved. And that's how the base mind works. And it's weird because like you can have a low bar. To me, it's like a low bar squat. I almost treat it like a sumo deadlift. Like it's like not a true show of strength, especially for your legs. It's just a true strength, or it's a demonstration of what you could do for a powerlifting competition, which is fine and dandy if that's what your goal is. You're trying to improve your total or whatever with that. But there is something aesthetically pleasing about a high bar ATG squat that you can't replicate with a powerlifting squat. And I don't I don't know what it exactly is, but I guess maybe it's because it's more difficult, and sounds kind of mean to like dog on a low bar squat, but like it is harder to squat with a fuller range of motion than it is to squat with less range of motion. And knowing like when you go through that range of motion or that difficulty of doing a high bar squat, and then when you see someone else do it, then like they're serious about what they're doing in training, even if they're not a weightlifter. Like you see them doing a deep squat, you're like they're going all out for the depth or whatever that they're trying to achieve, or the physique or whatever. But I don't know, and it's interesting because I'll see people that don't squat ATG or whatever, and people I lift around a lot of powerlifters, so it's not advantageous if you're trying to break a record or something to squat with more range of motion. You want to limit the range of motion as much as you can. So I probably wouldn't even sumo if I was a powerlifter at this point, because I've never really been enjoying, even when I was trying to do it in the past, I never really liked how it felt in general. But I would probably try to get decent at it because it does it does decrease the range of motion. It makes it a lot. If you get good at it, you get a lot better at it than conventional deadlifts for 99.9% of people. I never trained sumo, and I PR'd it probably like a month ago at this point, up to I think it was 600 pounds. But it was like a 50-pound PR, and I never trained it, and it looked ugly. It was pushed out in front. I didn't have the hip mobility to have like a really good position. But all that tells me is that not that sumo is cheating, is that sumo is just not a deadlift. Like if I see someone that's like I did a 700-pound deadlift and it's sumo, it doesn't count, and it's harsh. But like if I'm gonna ask how much you deadlift, it's how much you conventional deadlift. That's how much you do an actual deadlift. Sumo deadlift is fine, but if you can't conventional a lot as well, then I don't respect it. And I get it for a powerlifting competition, trying to do the most weight, but for me, it's you're never going to be the strongest person anywhere, and so it's better to lift with better aesthetics than to just try to lift the most weight. Um, Especially sumo. Like sumo is just cheating. If you're calling it a deadlift, if you're saying it's a sumo deadlift, then it's whatever. But if you're trying to compare it to regular deadlifts, it's just not a. It's just a different lift entirely. It's like comparing a back squat to a front squat. Like it's just two different lifts, and like I said, is a decent comparison. It's like comparing a low bar back squat to a front squat. If I say I can, front squat 405 and you can back low bar back squat 405, like, sorry, that the 405 front squat's more impressive. Just like if you can sumo deadlift 405 and I can conventional 405, sorry, 405 I just did is a little bit more impressive. Man, that's my bias though, but I've always had that bias. Even when I was looking at powerlifting, it's like sumo is fine, it's fine and dandy, but it's just I view it as like you do it just for the competitions. But I'm sure there is utility to it. But for me, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna do a different kind of pull. I do plenty of pulls as it is, and I don't need to add sumo pulls into weightlifting training. I'm not Chinese. I don't need to add that in. But we got my band here. It's pretty annoyingly. I got the heaviest resistance band, I guess, because you can always adjust it, but it's hard to make a band heavier resistance when it's light, but you can kind of configure it to make it lighter. But I'm going to do some tricep. I'm going to get a crazy tricep pump, and then I'm going to go in. But I appreciate you, Valk, for stopping here and chatting about weightlifting stuff. Best of luck on your journey, but you feel free if you leave comments and stuff. I'll be able to find your channel a little bit easier if you leave it on like a regular video, if you post stuff, and love to see if you do some lifting. But I appreciate it. You have a good Saturday night, and I'll see you later, bud.